If you're really into comedy, stick around for the back half of today's podcast. I'm going to take a look at Just for Laughs' new faces. I'll explain to you why that's so important and why you should care. I'll start with some leftover debate jokes. I just want to remind you, as I did yesterday, the news cycles change very quickly. So if I'm off tone here, it's because I didn't know what happened that you're like, oh, how come he's not talking about whatever? I didn't know. I'm just doing leftover debate jokes. I mean no harm. I wish everyone well. Stephen Colbert talked about the president's comments from last week that he didn't know who the Proud Boys are. And Colbert said, well, it looks like somebody in the White House started looking at the numbers and realized that siding with a violent hate group doesn't poll well with suburban women. And Colbert said, notice he didn't actually denounce the Proud Boys, so his walkback still had a hint of a goose step. I have some leftover Trump tax jokes. Yeah, I think this is the end of them. There were a lot of them. Seth Meyers said, so now we know why Trump's so desperate to stay in the White House. He needs the free housing. He needs a place to crash. He's your deadbeat friend who refuses to get a job because he's still working on his idea for an app that tells you which Chipotle locations have the hottest cashiers. That'd actually be a good app. Trevor Noah, I also now get why Trump was rooting for Bernie Sanders so hard. He wanted him to win so that the government would bail him out. That's really funny. Trevor Noah, it also explains why Melania isn't leaving Trump. I mean, if she divorces him, she gets half of the $400 million in debt. Fallon, seriously, when it comes to avoiding taxes, Trump knows every loophole. For instance, on next year's taxes, he plans on claiming his coronavirus response as a total loss. Trevor Noah, it even explains why Trump has been destroying the post office. Good luck collecting your money when you can't mail him a bill. And Seth Meyers said, wow, if true, this bombshell has the potential to be almost as damaging to his political career as the Access Hollywood tape. Things change fast, right? I mean, we had the tax jokes, the debates. There was like 45 minutes Thursday night about Melania hating Christmas or whatever that was. And then, oh yeah, the president has coronavirus. Things move quickly. Let's change gears. Hey, Drew Carey fans want to know what's going on with the comics hair these days. Yeah, that's the headline from Distractify. Apparently, in August of 2020, it took 2 months for this to hit my radar. And understand, I host a comedy podcast and I go looking for news every day. But boy, this is huge. Drew Carey went on Instagram and uploaded a photo captioned, "My new look." He's gray and he's got a goatee. He's 62. Fans are hoping that he keeps the new look when The Price is Right returns. It is not being shot right now because of coronavirus. That's huge news, huh? Hey, Jerry Seinfeld, Bobcat Goldthwait's favorite comedian, spoke to Entertainment Weekly. Jerry will be out hawking his new book, so we'll probably hear from a lot of Jerry this week, which is good if you host a daily comedy news podcast. Well, the book is called Is This Anything? And it's out October 6th. And EW spoke with Jerry about how he dug up material from his early days for the book, why he wanted to share his process now, and whether young comedians need to go viral to break into comedy now. Jerry said, if I had something I thought was good, I would just throw it in a folder. When I sat down to do the book, most of the stuff was in terrible, terrible shape. It was just scribblings that were completely unorganized. It took me months and months and months, but I remember every joke because as a comedian, there's nothing we care about more than the joke. When it's life and death, you remember. When I was young, I was starving to try to figure out this world we live in. I couldn't figure out how these comedians were doing this or what the industry even was, but I just loved it. So I wanted to leave a trail for young people. I thought it might be a nice thing to leave a written document of my work for whatever value it might have to other young comics. Really? Yeah. Is that a true story, Jerry? Yeah. It's 1977. Jerry Seinfeld sitting at the table. He goes, you know, someday I might have a sitcom and be really famous. And 50 years from now, let me leave some notes for some younger comedians. Is that a true story, Jerry? Okay, I'll read your book. Entertainment Weekly said, early on in Is This Anything? You talk about a book, The Last Laugh by Phil Berger, and a movie, 1974's Lenny, starring Dustin Hoffman, which inspired you to get into comedy. Is there a piece of music that influenced your stand-up? Jerry said, oh yeah, I like jazz. I stopped really listening to rock music in my early 20s. Good stand-up should feel like jazz, in that it's a very pure invention of that person. EW asked, how much of your success is due to being naturally funny, Jerry Seinfeld, versus putting in the work? Jerry said, there has to be a certain spark of life. It's like the way a lighter works. You have the fluid, the friction, but the spark is what makes the alchemy of a bursting laugh. It's an unearthly phenomenon. To control it, it's kind of like juggling fire, like with baseball. What they try to do is get the percentages just slightly more in their favor. Choke up on the bat, move up just an inch, lock my elbow up, bring my hands down. Comedians are not risk takers, they are risk eliminators. EW said, the industry is so different now from what it used to be. Do you think up-and-coming comedians have to chase viral moments more? Jerry said, yeah, and that's fine. The greatest thing about stand-up is getting into it. The worst part of stand-up is being thrown out of it. I was so happy when I made it inside comedy. I felt like a tropical fish that had found an aquarium. All I want is never to leave this aquarium. Vulture pulled out a thing from that Comedy Store thing that was on Showtime last night. This is from David Letterman. And Letterman's story was his first time on stage at the Comedy Store led to some initial confusion and disappointment about his future. Letterman said, within 2 weeks of coming out here, I showed up on a Monday night and went on stage petrified, blinded by the light, and did okay, not great. I had no material. Mitzi Shore told Letterman he should come back, but when he came back, his name wasn't on the list of comedians scheduled to perform. That led to Letterman pouting for a week about not being chosen to take the stage. And I'm thinking, I thought she said I should come back. And Letterman said, and then finally my friend George said, dumbass, you have to call in. They'll give you a time. Adam Sandler was on Jimmy Kimmel. He's promoting Hubie Halloween. We're all counting down for Hubie Halloween. I can't wait. And Sandler told this story, and you tell me if this is true. Sandler tells a story. I had a person one time. I was leaving a haircut, and a kid came out with a bag of my haircut and asked me to sign it, and I did. And then that night on the internet, he was selling it saying, Adam Sandler's pubic hair. It's a true story. And I bought it back for $65. That's a true story. Adam Sandler, he's at a barbershop. He walks out. A kid has scooped up Adam's hair, put it in a bag. Sandler signs it. Then I guess that night Sandler jumps on eBay and he's like, hey, I want to see if anybody's selling Adam Sandler hair. And he sees that it's being sold as Adam Sandler's pubic hair for $65. It's a true story, according to Adam Sandler, this generation's greatest comedian. Speaking of comedians I love, the Wall Street Journal caught up with Sarah Cooper. You know Sarah, she mimes to the president on TikTok. Yeah, that's what she does. She said the president would say things that reminded me of the way men spoke in business meetings when they didn't actually know what they were talking about. So I grabbed a clip. I didn't know it would be comedy gold until I lip-synced a video of him talking about putting UV light under the skin and injecting bleach, and it went viral. Comedy gold. Absolute comedy gold. Sarah, why do you think your lip-sync videos are so popular? Asked the Wall Street Journal. And Sarah said, I think they're this interesting intersection between comedy, news, and politics, which are three subjects that I've always loved talking about. Lip syncing, someone else, gives me this weird confidence that I don't normally have, and people seem to find it funny. But Sarah, you spent years trying to make it as a stand-up comedian. Do you wish you'd started posting videos on TikTok and Twitter sooner? And Sarah said, yes, people in Hollywood will like you when they see other people like you. That is so true. When you're hot, and she's hot right now. Sarah, you should grab every single deal you can right now while people in Hollywood are into your TikTok videos where you mime President Trump here in October, and there's an election in a month. Book it all. Everything you can. Some advice from Johnny Mac. Sarah said, so I feel like a lot of success that's coming to me now for books I did years ago. Yeah, she had written 2 satirical books on corporate culture while at Google, one of which is now being adapted as a CBS comedy. As Sarah said, people in Hollywood will like you when they see other people like you. So her book from a couple of years ago is now being adapted into a CBS comedy after the heat she's getting from making TikTok videos where she mimes President Trump. Because I have millions of followers on social media, that's what speaks to the industry in 2020. They want people who already have audiences. I also feel like I had to go in the back door to find success for years. I was going to audition after audition and always failing. But I'm glad that happened because I needed to have life experience and written books before I became successful. If I'd gone viral 10 years ago, it would have been with stuff I didn't really care about, and that would have translated into mainstream success. I guess she would have made funny videos of President Obama. All right, if you are still with me, for hardcore comedy fans, Just for Laughs every year does some New Faces shows. It is probably the primary reason I go to the Montreal Comedy Festival, which is a fantastic festival. But I like to see the new faces. It helps me in my career because I see the new faces and then I can be, ahead of the curve for, 99.9% of the public. And I can do things on my Live by Live show or this show or back when I was at Sirius, and I can be like, oh man, you got to really see this guy Joel Kim Booster or this guy Chris Garcia. They came out of the New Faces shows. And, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about then. So this year, instead of doing the usual categories, and the usual categories are New Faces of Comedy, sketch performers called New Faces Characters, comedians without managers, which is called New Faces Unrepped, and digital content creators called New Faces Creators, the kind of people that would do a TikTok video pantomiming President Trump. This year, New Faces only features picks from the creators category, given that the pandemic has thrown a wrench in live comedy as we know it. It's a small but exclusive list that features Tonight Show writers and Moves Like Bloomberg creators Brad Evans and Nick Chiarelli, and some others, so let's break it out. The virtual festival will run on October 9th and 10th, and the New Faces Creator Showcase is scheduled for Friday night from 6:30 to 8. Information on the JFL website. Here are the breakdown per the JFL press release. Brad Evans and Nick Chiarelli, they are writers for The Tonight Show. So these are the guys that I guess I was bashing earlier in the year, and I said had a great summer. Fallon's jokes were lame, and then all of a sudden got better this summer. These guys joined the show's sketch staff in March. Maybe these guys made the show better. We should check them out, right? Caleb Heron is a comedian at whom nobody has ever been mad. He currently resides in L.A., where he's a writer for Netflix's spinoff of their hit show Big Mouth, which is titled Human Resources. In 2020, Variety named him one of their top comics to watch, right? A lot of heat on that guy. Jay Snow is from Compton. He's got 30-plus million views on his YouTube channel, and he hosts All Def Digital. Mary Neely is a director, writer, and actor born and raised in L.A. A lot of L.A. people here. That's interesting. Maybe not. I mean, that's where everybody goes, right? There's New York and L.A. As a director, her short films, web series, and music videos have been screened at South by Southwest, opening night of Palm Springs Short Fest, and many other things. But what has she done? That's what I want to know, and I don't know, and the press release doesn't tell me. Rekha Shankar is currently writing on Netflix's Magic for Humans, and prior to that was the head writer-performer for College Humor. That's a good resume there. She stars in the new Between Two Ferns movie and was a writer on Netflix's sketch series Astronomy Club. Strong resume there. So those are the new faces. I'm sorry that they're not doing like new faces stand-up and stuff, but like pandemic, I get it. All right, long episode today. Thank you for listening. Subscribe in the usual places. I'll see you tomorrow.